Welcome to the Board of Nursing meeting for November already. I didn't consent to that. We're going to get started with an informational video about participating in virtual board meetings.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras. Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. It's Thursday, November the 6th. I'm going to read additional information about participating in virtual board meetings and board meetings in general. As a reminder, if you wish to submit written testimony on any agenda item, please submit your testimony to nursing@dcca.hawaii.gov or by hard copy mail to the address listed in the agenda. We do request submission of testimony at least 24 hours prior to the meeting so that it can be distributed to board members. If you're attending by internet, you can view the meeting and provide live oral testimony. Use the link at the top of the agenda to do that. You will be asked to enter your name, and the board does request that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym if you wish. You will also be asked for an email address. You may fill in this field with any entry in a standard email format. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chair asks for public testimony, you can click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about an agenda item. The chair will individually enable each testifier to unmute your microphone. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone before speaking and then remute your microphone when you're finished. If you're attending by phone, you can get audio only access. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you can indicate that you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your telephone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chair, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6. On your telephone, a voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you're finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone access when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If the connection to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time. The information for the rescheduled board meeting will be posted to the board's website. And instructions to attend State of Hawaii virtual board meetings is available on the top of the agenda. At this time, I'm going to take a roll call so we can see if we can proceed. I'm Carrie Oliveira. I'm the chair. I am present. For those of you attending, as a reminder, board members, if you're attending virtually, please indicate if you're alone in a non-public location. Bradley Kuo. Present. Jill Riggs.
Present and alone.
Sherry Shields Hansen.
Present and alone.
Darren Dunbar.
Present and alone.
Rebecca Moore.
Present and alone.
Karen Zaratani.
Present and alone.
Thank you so much. We do have a quorum. And we can proceed. Meeting is called to order officially. All right, we're gonna start with agenda item number 1, which is the chair's report. Announcements. Don't have any announcements per se, except if you're following along, if you get notifications from NCSBN did make its schedule of upcoming events for the next year-ish available. There's a lot of stuff. There's the mid-year meeting, the annual meeting, there's a scientific symposium, there's a one other conference, I forget related to what. So pay attention in case you're interested. A lot of them are virtual. You can register that way. We're gonna have a conversation, the EO and I, are about who we're gonna send to the mid-year meeting. So more, stay tuned on that. Okay. All right, outside of announcements, I wanted to provide some updates. I attended a chair's president's call from NCSBN on October 7th, and there were just a couple of things that I wanted to note that came up as conversations amongst the presidents and chairs of other boards of nursing. So I'll be paying attention to on an ongoing basis on this board's behalf. So one is, there's a question about the verification of the identity of nurses. One of the boards suggested that we should start including photographs on nurse license pocket cards, which is really interesting. And I'm not sure what exactly, it wasn't clear to me what the basis of this concern was, but there's an interest apparently in photographically verifying the identity of nurse license holders. NCSBN is, if there is interest in this, NCSBN is willing to entertain further conversation about it. So that's just let you know that there are some boards that are talking about that for reasons that are not entirely clearly articulated. There was another question. A lot of the boards keep getting repeat questions about med spas and IV hydration clinics, and specifically asking for NCSBN for guidance on these issues. There are various resources from other boards of nursing, consolidation of position statements, etc. They're all on the NCSBN Discipline Knowledge Network Hive site. So if you don't log in to NCSBN's website on a regular basis, you should. I highly recommend, if you don't have a login, contact the EO because she's our administrator for NCSBN accounts. So there's a whole knowledge network related to discipline. So if you're curious about what NCSBN is recommending along the med spas and IV hydration clinics, the resources are there for you. They also have guidelines posted about social media use for nurses, which of course this is one of the kind of a emergent discipline issue in a lot of boards of nursing. Inappropriate use of social media by nurses, the disclosure of HIPAA protected information on social media by nurses. And so there is some informational guidance there, probably behooves you to take a look at it. And then finally, there is the NCSBN National Nursing Education Database. Hawaii is not represented in these data because we do not participate in the NCSBN annual report of surveys of schools of nursing. But for participating states, there is a dashboard. It shows information about all kinds of aspects of nurse education programs, including clinical hours and pass rates, major changes to programs, student characteristics, etc. You can filter the dashboards by rural versus urban, tax classification status of the schools, degree program, and program enrollment size. So it's a neat little dashboard. Take a look. Any questions about the president's call? Anybody wish to provide testimony on that agenda item? Thank you. All right. Moving on then to agenda item number 3, which is the approval of the open and executive session minutes of the October 2 meeting. Does any board member have any comments, edits, corrections to either set of minutes? If we want to discuss the exec session, we can go into exec to discuss those corrections. I'm seeing no's. Sherry.
Now I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Bradley, I'll second.
Great, so it's a motion to approve the minutes as circulated. Bradley was the second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you very much, board. All right, we're gonna move on then to agenda item number 4, which is the executive officers report. EO, up to you.
Thank you, Chair. So the first item I have on the agenda is just a report out on the executive officers call. That's hosted by NCSBN. I believe it's a monthly call. I joined this month on October 24th because they're talking about remote proctoring, which was coincidentally on our agenda last month. And on this call, they actually answered some of the questions that we had, which is, well, what is the holdup and how are they planning on maintaining integrity of the exam? So they have rebranded remote proctoring to NCLEX Online. That's the name of the test, the online test. And they said that they are following a quality line instead of a timeline in getting this implemented, meaning that they are making sure that there are high standards applied across the board to maintain integrity. So that's why the rollout date has not been set yet. They are also still in the early stages of writing policies and rules surrounding the NCLEX Online. And they are prioritizing technology. So some examples that they mentioned on the call were they're developing an app that will assess the room that the candidate is sitting in, and it will require a camera that has a 360-degree view. The smartphone that the candidate has will need the camera to be turned on, but that also means that they have to have a smartphone or a tablet with a camera that works. So they're also looking into camera technology that has high resolution so that they can detect technical devices on the candidate's bodies in case they're hiding bugs, any kind of spyware, miniature cameras. So all of that is still in discussion and in development on their end, hence the delay. They also mentioned that they are looking at other sectors and industries that have implemented online testing and done it really well. So they mentioned that EMTs were one of the first groups that used remote proctoring. So they're taking lessons learned from these groups as well as lessons as to what not to do. And candidates will need to have reliable internet. If they don't have a strong enough bandwidth or the technology available, then they will have to go to a testing site. And again, to maintain integrity of the exam, NCSBN is considering all options to verify the identities of test takers, and they're looking at other forms of technology that includes digital IDs, fingerprints, and anything else that can detect any form of intrusion or cheating. And this includes the use of AI. So that is my report out from the NCSBN's executive officer's call.
Any questions for the EO? Any testimony from any member of the public? Testimony.
Carrie, before we
Yes.
go on, I have a question about your report that I didn't chime in
Yeah.
fast enough.
Yeah.
You mentioned in that report or dashboard of NCBSN that Hawaii is not currently included for informational purposes. Do you have any, can you help me understand why we're not part of that?
That's a decision. I don't actually know what the protocol is for how a board decides that it wants to participate. But basically it's that the board tells NCSBN, I don't know if there's a financial agreement there, to execute a survey of the schools of nursing in its jurisdiction on the board's behalf, essentially. And I don't know what the mechanism by that is, or I'm not privy to any, the board hasn't actually discussed that. So it's kind of been an EO call previous to now. So I don't actually know the answer to your question, Darren. It is something we can look into.
And just to clarify, are we the only state out of 50 that
No.
does not participate or one of several? You were just mentioning Hawaii does not.
I want to say there's 35 states represented on the dashboard right now.
Okay, thanks.
Good questions. Other questions? Okay. Continuing on with the EO's report.
Right, so Operation Nightingale, phase 2 ended on September 16th. That was when the OIG of Office of the Inspector General of the Department of Health and Human Services, so this at the federal level, released an update on 12 schools that were further indicted in the investigation into fraudulent transcripts issued by Florida nursing programs mostly between 2016 and 2021, but of course there were some that were issued before and maybe even some after. So for those of you who are not familiar with Operation Nightingale, I just gave a little bit of background about the US Department of Health and Human Services leading this investigation, starting in 2000 and, I believe it was 2020, sorry, I'll have to look up the date. But it was alerted when, authorities were alerted when when state boards of nursing noticed that there were consistently poor NCLEX passing results coming out of certain nursing programs, and they all went back to these schools in Florida. And since then, they've so far now indicted over 21 nursing programs. These nursing programs have closed since, a lot of them closed between 2023 and 2024, but these transcripts are still floating around. That means that buyers of these transcripts are still using them to apply for the NCLEX and for jobs. And there was actually one of these nurses who was working at a hospital in Missouri, and her lack of training led to the death of a patient. So this is a serious concern to the public, and we want to make sure that we catch as many of these transcripts as possible before they continue on to sitting for the exam and possibly passing and getting licensed as nurses. So in my audit of shouldn't say audit because I didn't conduct a full audit, but since I've started here at the board, I have reviewed quite a number of these fraudulent transcripts. I should also caveat by saying that some of these programs did start off as legitimate nursing programs, that over time, the owners found a lucrative business in this scheme of selling illegitimate transcripts. So there are some schools where I do have to review case by case to make sure that what I'm looking at is actually a legitimate transcript or fraudulent. So an example of this is TechniPro, which was a university that was added in phase 2. They're one of the schools that was most recently indicted. And records show that TechniPro actually operated lawfully for many years, and then they decided to join the scheme by 2014. So so this is just to say that I am very, very discriminative when I review these transcripts. I'm not just looking at the name and going, oh, this is a Nightingale transcript. I'm not even going to bother looking at the rest of this is fraudulent. So that is not the case. I am reviewing all these very, very carefully. And from my reviews, I've noticed that a lot of these transcripts were in applications that were submitted prior to 2024, meaning a year ago, and they were exempted from the abandonment clause, which is the HRS. Yeah, HRS section 436B-9. And the policy was that these applicants could continue completing their application if they show that if they can demonstrate effort in taking the test. That means that as long as they register and sit for the exam, whether it's here in Hawaii or in another state, that was considered demonstrated effort. And therefore, some of these applications kept rolling over and rolling over and rolling over until very recently the licensing branch started flagging a lot of these for me. And I sent these candidates deferral letters, and I sent deferral letters to give them an opportunity to actually sit through a board-approved nursing program. And from there, this means that to prevent this from happening, we are no longer granting this exemption. This grandfather clause was not written into the law, so it is not law. We are now following the full interpretation of HRS section 436B-9, and all applications for exam will expire a year from the first date of registration for the test. So if they submitted an application today on November 6th, and they register for the test on, next week on November 12th, then their application is expiring November 12th, 2026. And that means that if they want to reapply, they have to redo the entire application, meaning submitting new set of fingerprints for criminal background check and resubmitting their transcripts. This is also true of the exemption for remedial courses. I learned that that exam applications submitted prior to March 2013, applicants did not have to take a remedial course if they failed the NCLEX consecutive 3 times. And any applicants that took, applied after March 2013, had to sit for a remedial course and show proof of completion if they fail the NCLEX a consecutive 3 times. So that grandfather policy or exemption was also not written into this law, which is in HAR section 16-89-9B. So again, just like the previous abandonment, just like the abandonment clause, we are now following this law in its strictest interpretation that anyone who is applying to take the NCLEX, if they fail 3 times, they have to take a remedial course. This is not all that different from other state boards that have similar requirements. And this is to ensure that folks who are applying for the exam know the material. And this also ensures that if they try to continue taking the exam, they're eventually going to hit that 1-year expiration date, and they have to reapply all over anyway. So that is the highlight of what I have to say about Operation Nightingale. What other state boards are doing are actually a bit more harsh than what Hawaii has been doing. So we might be following in their lead. For instance, the state nursing board of Delaware has annulled many licenses that that passed the NCLEX or got their license through, and they have transcripts from these Nightingale schools. And that list is actually published on their website. Some other boards have listed the indicted schools on their websites and includes additional information on how to detect fraudulent transcripts. And some examples are California, North Dakota, Texas, so you can go take a look. And this is just to say that Hawaii will probably be following suit in line with these boards of nurses very soon.
Questions?
Yeah.
Discussion?
I have a question. This is Bradley. How many abandoned potentially? How many people are potentially in this list of abandoned applications?
Expired applications, yeah. We're looking into that right now. I actually have a list already.
Okay.
And the exam branch is also looking into registrants for the NCLEX. Because they have their own access to an NCLEX registration database.
Okay.
To see who has registered prior to November 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess this case would be November 2024. So we're confronting this from different fronts.
So is it the case that, say, a person has failed the NCLEX repeatedly, more than 3 times, and might have a current schedule to take the exam? Is there a protocol for, like, I don't know, canceling that registration on the exam, or?
Yeah, that'd be hard to catch. So what I'm saying is any applications, we're looking at everything starting from November 1st.
Okay.
So if they register for the NCLEX back in October, but their testing date is November 12th.
Yeah.
Then there's nothing we can do about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I like this. I'm pleased by this. Sherry's also pleased.
So I looked at the website and they said that there's 7,300 fake diplomas out there, right? From these
Estimated.
estimated. How many have we not caught? Like, do they have a number of people still out there, still under these licenses that are practicing?
We don't know. Some of these licensees have, they would go to a state, take the NCLEX there, get licensed there, and then
then-
travel and,
Yeah.
transfer that score to another state by endorsement reciprocity. And then to another state, and then to another state. So this is really hard to track. And this is
Yeah.
why, all the other state boards are, well, I should say all of us nursing boards are following all this really closely, and we're in communications with each other about disciplining actions, flagging these types of transcripts. There's something else, and I'm also talking to other boards to see what other safeguards they have put into practice that we may want to borrow.
So once you find somebody, they come in, you find them, you tag them, and then after November 1st, they will never have an opportunity to be a nurse again. Even if right? That's
Not, no, what happens when I catch one of these transcripts is I will send them a deferral letter that says that we have evidence that the transcript you submitted in your application is from a Nightingale school. But because this is a letter of deferral, we are giving you the opportunity to satisfy the education requirements as required by the Hawaii Administrative Rules and statutes. And most
Okay.
nursing programs, even associate programs, don't have any schedules that would be, some convention a year. Right. We're not saying denial letters because they can contest the denial letter, but they can't protest a deferral.
Pearl. Okay.
Our dad confirmed that.
Right, it's a good plan.
What a mess. Thank you for doing all that.
Darren,
Yep, follow-up question. You mentioned there's 7,300 fake diplomas out there or whatever. Do we know, was an investigation conducted, like go find those people to see what they're doing or ensure that they're aware that their diploma is not valid, and if they truly want to be a nurse, here are the steps they need? Do we know if any of that happened, or are we just sort of like, here's the list, if you get one of these, be careful? Do you know?
So, yeah, going back to this actually, I just realized I didn't finish answering Rebecca's question. What happens when we do catch one of these licensees who actually pass the initial EO review, which actually Rico now currently has 3 cases, from before my time, probably before Alex's time too, that got licensed, and they're dealing with them accordingly. And by accordingly, I mean in accordance with our rules and statutes. And I know that the other states are doing the same. Whether they can become licensed again, I think that depends on what the board that receives the new application would like to do, because they have the disciplinary action under, nurses and NPDB report.
I would add to that,
Yeah.
the OIG's investigation is really of the schools. So identifying the schools that issue transcripts, the schools probably have lists of individuals who receive these transcripts. That investigation, the schools don't necessarily know what happened to the students upon the completion of their transaction. So this is where the nursing regulatory bodies come in. And the investigative responsibility falls on us to be like, hey, if we catch a nurse in our attempting to become a nurse or has already been issued a license, that's up to the nursing regulatory body to deal with the investigation of the individual.
Yeah.
So.
No, totally get it. I just,
Yeah.
in my mind, if we've identified 7,300, not that we can tell OIG what to do, and who knows what was done, but just notifying them, kind of like a credit card company, when your information gets compromised, they notify you, and then later a lawyer notifies you to become part of a class action suit. Blah, blah, blah. So I just didn't know, were those 7,300 people contacted? Were they aware? Are they, because it almost feels like now it's everybody needs to be on alert for the 7,300 over the next coming years, and it's up to us to figure out who those folks are. But
Well, I do want to
just
add that.
curiosity. It's okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. The investigation is still ongoing. There are other suspected schools that have not been indicted yet. And in fact, we caught one of them last week, thanks to our wonderful licensing clerk who flagged it for me. The school was from Florida, and she saw that it was, there were some unusual, well, we look at other indicators too, like how many times they failed the NCLEX. But that's one of the reasons why she might flag a transcript for me, even if it's not on the 9-gale list.
Right.
So who knows, maybe in a few months or, next year, the FBI might release more data, more information for the boards. I received this information from the Office of Inspector General at the Department of Health and Human Services. And some of the information we also get from NCSBN. So this is a very, very huge nationwide coordinated effort.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question? So in relation to these transcripts, what are other boards doing when one of these transcript holders may go on to complete their perhaps BSN or complete APRN coursework? When they have the foundation of fraudulent transcripts, what are other boards doing about that?
That's a great question. I mean, I could go back to the boards and ask them, pose that question. So it hasn't come up yet.
I can pose that question at the next president's call as well.
Because that is essentially money laundering, in my opinion, right? When you are trying to make yourself look.
Credentials laundering?
Yes,
Yeah.
credential laundering. To try and make yourself look legitimate when your foundation is actually fraudulent.
But I think that there's a challenge associated with that too, from an investigative standpoint, right? So if a person applies to a BSN program, it's up to the BSN program to do the transfer evaluation of that previous education, right? So if they accept the transfer credits and part or total from that degree program, that isn't going to be 100% of the curriculum that they complete for a BSN program. So as long as they're applying to a valid BSN program and they complete that curriculum, the question then becomes is how much of their educational foundation is invalid?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So, but
Right.
I would make the argument if they got a degree from a BSN program, I don't know what we can do about them having previously completed a fraudulent ADN program.
So that's why I want to know what are other boards of nursing doing in instances such as that.
Particularly if they through the cracks at the early part of things, got a RN license.
Yeah.
It's I've been a BSN faculty before, but we really want to know is, are you licensed somewhere else, and give us your transcripts so we know exactly how many credit hours you have and how many you need to get that BSN. So I share Bradley's concern in that, someone could slide under the radar and get that BSN, whether they've worked or not, doesn't matter. They're concerned about, do they have that license and how many credits do they have? And then, onward and forward. So. Valid concern.
Which is why my concern, and deep in my heart, it burns like a fire, is that a multi-state licensure, right? So if you're in a state that's in the compact and you were issued a license and met the criteria for multi-state licensure, you could not only be licensed in a jurisdiction, but have the privilege to practice in every other jurisdiction in the compact. And that stresses me to no end.
And no other board of nursing in the compact is necessarily going to take a look at that.
Why would they?
Yeah.
Because they've got a multi-state.
Correct.
Yeah, unlike some more advanced nursing programs that you're asking about, they do require, prior transcripts. This is why, in fact, as recently as this past week, I had to transfer one of these transcripts to a former applicant who was asking for it because she is trying to get into a nursing program in another state. So I'm sure that nursing programs in other states are also aware of this, or they're made aware of it.
So the OIG is also sending this information to nursing schools.
I would hope so. I can look into it. I can look into who has received the information. In phase 1, the schools that were indicted, some of them did send out lists of names that received these transcripts. So that was a part of our initial vetting. But we realized that those lists weren't always complete.
Correct. I remember this. I remember very, very early on, we had individuals' names. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing transcripts that have, that, you know, for associate programs that have hours that surpass 2 years.
Right. More than you would expect out of an ADN program.
Yeah, so that's one indicator. Another indicator is that, for the same reason why this investigation was started in the first place, is that many times these applicants have really poor passing rates for the NCLEX. And I've seen applicants who have taken the test 30, 40 times.
Not no more. No more. Yay! I have literally never been so excited about any piece of nursing regulation ever as that.
Well, and the regulation has been
Right.
in place. They exist already. Just have to really put the hammer
Enforce
down.
it.
Mhm.
Can I ask a point of clarification? So earlier you had mentioned about the lack of grandfather clauses in the certain rules and regs. Are we starting as of like today and giving them that period of 1 year or whatever?
November 1st.
Or are we saying, okay, this has been way more than the allowed amount? You know, your application was sent in 2014, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
they will get an, if they basically. So this is where I'm working with the exam branch to make sure we catch all of these. If they, yeah, we have to send out notices to folks whose applications have expired.
okay.
And it's not just applications by exam, actually, we have applications by reciprocity that have expired too, that we're now also dealing with.
Right. What would be the delay on a reciprocity application? Just not paying the license fees?
Some people just don't complete them. We send them deficiency notices because they're missing, yeah, it could be the licensing.
Ah, yeah.
fee, It could be missing,
A personal statement about a criminal conviction.
yeah, or a transcript, or, their, NPDB report.
Right.
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, to clarify, so beginning November 1st, any application that has had no activity on it for the preceding year is gonna be considered expired.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for clarifying that.
I was like, I'm with you on the question, man. I got you.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if it was like, if there's no activity in this next year, then is it expired? But it sounds like if there's been no activity,
In the
the
previous year.
expired.
Yes.
Great.
That will catch a lot of these transcripts.
Okay.
Folks who are taking the NCLEX repeatedly.
Yep. Yep.
So it's a
And-
combination of the expiration plus the limit on the end class. That's the sieve.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
And moving forward, because we do receive the NCLEX scores. So that's another way of catching folks who are trying to take this test repeatedly.
You get a fail
have gone through.
notification.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get the notification, and then, and our licensing branch sees, oh, they haven't taken a remedial course.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. I'm very excited about this. Thank you for all the work that you're doing with the licensing branch on that.
Well, I want to make sure that we have safeguards in place to, protect patients, the public. When I saw that news article about the nurse who basically contributed to a patient's death in Missouri in 2023, I was like, how embarrassing, how horrifying would it be
Yes.
if someone like that got licensed through our state.
Yeah.
Yep,
We don't want that.
we do not. We have one purpose, to protect the public. That is why we exist. So thank you for facilitating our ability to do that. Any additional comments from the board or commentary or testimony from the public? Awesome. Thank you very much. EO, there was one other thing on your report, the audit, annual audit.
Yep, this is just to let everyone know that the annual audit has started. This is a random sample of nurses with current and active licenses in the state of Hawaii. We have drawn 18 LPNs, 32 APRNs with prescriptive authority, and 320 RNs. And I believe, I think Julie, you have the statistics. This is like 2% of our licensees per group or something like that. 1%, even less, yeah. So the letters were sent out a little bit late. The letters were dated August 2025, but they were postmarked October 14th, 2025. So I'm just letting folks know that if you receive them after October 14th, 2025, do not freak out and panic. You still have the 60 days stated in the letter to submit your continuing education evidence.
60 days from the date of, from what date?
From October 14th, 2025.
Okay.
Not August. That was a misprint. Because that was because August was when these letters were supposed to go out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the list going to be posted to the board's website?
They are on the website.
Looking at it now.
Thanks, Bradley. Please make sure you tell all your nursing friends to check the list if they don't check their mail regularly, like a lot of people I know, including myself. So the list is on the website.
I did receive a few return
Yes.
envelopes because of people's address changed. They didn't notify us. So yes, definitely check that list on the website. Good question.
Thank you, EO. Any questions or comments about the audit list? Yes.
October 16th is the 60-day start date.
14.
14?
October 14th.
Okay, all right, thank you, EO, for your report, much appreciated. All right, we'll move on then to agenda item number 5, if I can see it, my eyeballs, oh, there we go, there they are. Okay, we are gonna move on to agenda item number 5, which is reports from Hawaii nursing organizations. We're gonna begin with the Hawaii State Center for Nursing, if you're ready. We have to work to Reinhardt. Aloha. Aloha.
Aloha.
Sorry about the construction.
But everywhere. Before I start, can I just say, Main Street is like down to 1 lane right now, so take other roads. I'm like, don't you know, we only do this during the summer when there's not traffic. Oh, and of course, my email just blocked my cell phone, so I don't have my notes. That's great. So I want to say thank you so much for that really important conversation about Operation Nightingale and licensure and the process. I just want to thank you for having that out loud so we can hear the process and understand how it's working and what changes as it relates to the grandfathering. It's really, I mean, it's just like very informative and I really appreciated it. So I just want to start with that. Couple updates from the Center for Nursing, and I'm trying to read through, y'all. I'm just gonna show you this. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What
What is it doing? I'll send the email afterwards, but it may not be as good as I thought. The Center for Nursing, we have released our data tables. The 2025 nursing workforce supply data tables were released in October. We had, again, we're like every year, we're getting more and more responses. So thank you for your partnership and how you post the link during license renewal, because that is the reason why we have these really great responses. We had over 16,000 responses. The data tables are present. They are by license. And in December, we will release the report, which will be broken down by county, which is a really important secondary undertaking that we do with this work. It helps us see what's going on in counties instead of having like a state of Oahu situation. And there's more dialogue about the phenomena we're seeing in that data. And I will send the links after this email or after this conversation. Second, we are seeking nominations for 3 awards within the center that we're releasing at the Hawaii Nursing Scientific Symposium. Those 3 awards are the Emerging Nurse Scientist, the Exemplary Nurse Scientist Award, and the Hawaii Impact Award, which highlights a nurse scientist whose work has significant impact or significant local impact. So if you do know a nurse who is engaging in that scientific inquiry, please do look to nominate them. We're seeking to increasingly highlight the really wonderful work that is done by nurses in our state. And registration, I believe, is open for that conference as well. Next week, we're hoping hosting an EBP conference. It's an introduction to Johns Hopkins models and tools, which are the EBP framework we have endorsed on behalf of the state, and we engage in training and community organization to help both schools and facilities use the evidence-based practice process to improve the quality of their nursing work. And so when our partners come out with new tools, we also make sure that they have access, our local nurses have access to that education and new knowledge. So if you aren't yet registered, there's a couple seats left. But if not, I just want to recognize that we do have multi-county participation, which we're very excited about. Next is the Center for Nursing worked with our healthcare partners in the state and the governor's office to include the Hawaii Nurse Residency Program and Specialty Transition to Practice Initiative in the Rural Health Transformation Grant application that will be submitted to the federal government. Actually, I think it was submitted. No, it'll be submitted next week. It'll be submitted by the 15th. This grant is part of the HR1 scheme to change Medicare funds. So it's important that our state does receive these funds. It's up. The grant is for $100 million, and then there's a potential for a second $100 million match. And it focuses on rural health. So we have been able to demonstrate through our programs and past grant activities that when we do have grant support, we are able to have an outsized representation of in our programs by neighbor island nurses. And these programs significantly improve retention of new nurses. 96% of our nurses stay when they are in these programs, as well as decrease vacancies in specialty areas, which otherwise are filled by travel nurses. So we're seeking to, we sought to include those initiatives in this rural health program to stabilize and support our neighbor island nurses in particular. And then finally, I want to recognize 4 nurses from Hawaii. Just last month at the American Academy of Nursing Health Policy Conference, 3 of our nurses, Marife, Sandra Leggy Brandon, and I'm forgetting Armstrong is her last name, Marife Armstrong, Sandra Leggy Brandon, and Donna Marie Palakiko were inducted into the American Academy of Nursing, which is a very prestigious academy, and nurses have to demonstrate their impact, not just locally, but nationally and internationally. And then I also want to further recognize Diane Alfonso, who is, I had not known about her, but she actually is born and raised in Hawaii, and she received the Living Legend Award by the American Academy of Nursing by scaling a nursing model she developed in Hawaii globally. And that nursing model is called the Malama Community Health Program, which worked to support maternal health, mental health, and health equity. So she has shaped policy and education worldwide, and it was so wonderful. Her brother came and had a suite of leis for her and her whole family. It's quite a big special. So I want to recognize those really high quality and contributory nurses that we have the honor of having in the state. And then just once again, I want to give you all my thanks for the work that you're doing to protect nurses and protect the quality of nursing in our state, and also to the licensing division, because they just, again, month after month, there's just so many nurses who are licensed in our state and made available because of their work. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Sorry, I didn't have all the words, but.
Any questions for Laura? Okay, next report will be from the Hawaii American Nurses Association, Elizabeth Kahakua, who I don't see. Is there anybody else here from Hawaii ANA who would like to give a report on behalf of the organization? Nope. Do we have anybody from HAPN, Hawaii Association of Professional Nurses? We don't think so. Okay, well, that's a bummer, but thank you very much for the Hawaii State Center for Nursing. Yes.
Marife has a hyphenated name. It's Axon Armstrong.
Maripe Axon Armstrong.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry for that I couldn't.
Notes, these is why notes are important. Okay, would anybody like to provide testimony on the agenda item related to nursing organization reports? You're getting better at that. You'll notice, okay. All right, we're gonna move on then to agenda item number 6, which pertains to applications for boards of, for nursing licenses. Is there any person here who is an applicant, whose application is, being considered on the agenda today?
We have LaMonica and Christopher Lynn.
Okay, so just as an FYI to anybody who is an applicant in here today, the board will go into executive session to discuss the confidential aspects of your application. If the board has concerns or questions about your application, we will bring you into the executive session with us. So we have an opportunity to talk to you and you can provide testimony and give us information that you think we should consider when reviewing your application. So sit tight. We're gonna go into exec, discuss, and then we'll come back and vote on the applications in the open session. So with that, I would like to move to go into executive session in accordance with HRS 92-4 and 92-5 to consider and evaluate personal information relating to individuals applying for professional or vocational licenses and to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. Is there a second?
Bradley, I'll second.
Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. We are in executive session. See you back in a bit. You should go with that. Now's a good time. We're back. We are back. Okay. All right, we're gonna resume our agenda. We are still on agenda item number 6. So we are going to ratify the LPN, RN, and APRN licenses. So I move to approve the ratification list for LPN, RN, and APRN licenses as appended to the agenda for this meeting. Is there a second?
This is Bradley, I'll second.
Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right. Is there a motion related to the RN application for Christopher Lean? I didn't ask who's planning on making motions today.
This is Jill.
Hey, Jill.
Hi. I'll make a motion, for the RN application for Christopher Lean, to deny pursuant to 436B1912 and 45712A1.
Is there a second?
I'll second Terrence.
Terrence is seconding the motion. Thank you, Terrence. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on this motion to deny the license for Christopher Lean? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Is there a motion related to the applications for RN, APRN, and prescriptive authority for LaMonica Hodges?
Hi, this is Jill. For LaMonica Hodges, RN, APRN, and prescriptive authority, to deny pursuant to 45712A6 and 45712A8.
Is there a second?
This is Bradley, I'll second.
There's a second there. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on the motion to deny the license for LaMonica Hodges? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Is there a motion related to the application for RN, APRN, and prescriptive authority licensure for Erica Combs?
Hi, this is Jill. I'll make a motion to approve the licensure for Erica Combs for RN, APRN, and prescriptive authority.
Is there a second?
This is Bradley, I'll second.
Thank you, Bradley. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on the motion to approve the applications for Erica Combs? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right. Our next agenda item is related to settlement agreements. We have to go into recess pursuant to chapter 91. So we are in recess because I'm the chair and I said so. And I have to close the door again.
Yes.
Yes.
I just realized I never had in a meeting where there's recess.
When do you need your next? Okay. EO, comments or anything?
For the applications that were denied, applicants will receive a letter of denial in their email sent by me. So look out for an email from me for your denial letter, because it will contain instructions on what to do if you wish to contest the denial. In the letter, it will say that you will have to submit a request for a hearing to the board within 60 days of the date on the letter. If you request a hearing, if your request for a hearing is not in the board's office within 60 days of the date on the letter, you will lose your right to the hearing and your right to appeal to the circuit court. When the case is when the case is heard, the case hearing is held before a hearings officer who will review the information. They will only consider information that is submitted in your application. So you cannot submit new information at the hearing.
Okay, thanks, EO. Anything else, board? Fantastic. The last agenda item on our agenda then is our notification of our next meeting. Before I get to that, there is an education committee meeting, which will follow this one probably within the next 10 or 15 minutes. It'll start. So just as an FYI, if you'd like to kick around for that. Our next Board of Nursing meeting will be held Thursday, December the 4th, 9 a.m. in this location or online. And the information will be at the top of that agenda to attend that meeting. And with that, we've reached the end of the agenda. We are adjourned. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Bye.